Hi sailors, and welcome to a new podcast here on explorenorth.no. I'm your host, Jon Amtrup. This time I finally caught up with Magnus. I've been trying for a while. He is one of the most experienced high-latitude sailors around. He's been to South Georgia, Antarctica, across the Drake Passage, obviously, a number of times, Greenland, Svalbard, Patagonia. Yeah, pretty much everything a high-latitude sailor can dream of. Now he is in New Zealand together with his wife, getting ready for a 3-week passage to French Polynesia. It's their own time and their own boat, so they're gonna enjoy the time off, just cruising along in warmer latitudes. We spoke about, of course, high-latitude sailing. If you want to know more about high-latitude sailing, I've written a book together with Bob Shepton called High-Latitude Sailing. You'll find it on my website with links to where you can buy it. But for now, listen to Magnus and be inspired by his experience and adventures. Good morning or good evening, Magnus.
Good evening, John. For me, good morning for you.
Yeah, it is. Because you're on the other side of the world, from me at least.
Yeah, that's right. Right now, I'm at the top of South Island, New Zealand, a little town called Nelson. Reckoned to be the sunniest part of New Zealand, but actually it's raining really hard right now and blowing pretty hard as well. So maybe not so sunny right now.
Yeah, and it's dark outside, so you can't tell me what the view is like.
There's very little to see at the moment. You're more likely to need your mask and snorkels than your sunglasses.
Can you tell me a little bit about why you're there right now? Because I can see you're in a boat, like me. So
my wife Julia and I, we're on our sailboat, our home. It's a Damien II designed steel lifting or swing keel, cutter rigged sloop, I guess you call her, 48 feet. And we're in New Zealand preparing to go to French Polynesia. We hope to leave in the next week or 10 days, just making the final arrangements. And we're going to spend the winter in French Polynesia and then sailing west down the trade winds, aiming to be back in New Zealand for probably October this year.
Are you tired of sailing in the high latitudes, Magnus?
No, not at all, but I've been sailing in the ice for many years. Julia's been sailing in the ice with me for a couple of years now. Julia's from the middle of Canada, so she knows about real cold, unlike us sailors, who we just think we know about the cold. But actually, we kind of had the feeling that we should take other people's boats to the cold professionally, which I've been doing for nearly 20 years now. But while we're in this part of the world with our own boat, we ought to go and catch some sunshine, some surf, and hopefully the odd tuna.
Sounds nice. But tell us a little bit more about your boat, because that Damien type is quite famous for the high latitudes as well.
Yeah, that's right. The boat was designed by Michel Joubert in, I guess, the late 70s for a French gentleman, Jérôme Poncet, and his wife to sail, to sail in the Antarctic Peninsula and South Georgia region. And those guys, they kind of opened up the whole high-latitude cruising thing, certainly in the southern part of the world, for modern sailors. Jérôme had previously been down to Antarctica with a small wooden boat called the Damien I, I guess. Subsequently had this boat designed specifically for longer, harder voyages in the same area. I guess he took all the stuff that he'd learnt from Damien I and rolled it into this design. I don't know when his boat, which was called Damien II, was launched. Probably 78, something like that. Actually, probably earlier than that, come to think of it. I don't really know. But the design became very popular with French offshore sailors, I think you'd say. They was designed as a schooner. I believe there were somewhere in the region of 25 built. Maybe more, maybe I don't know. And there are certainly 15 that I'm aware of still sailing. I mean, it could be far more than that. I may be out of touch. She's designed. She's slightly unusual because she's a lap straight construction, so her hull panels overlap. There's no longitudinal frames or stringers, as they're known. So we have an overlapped steel instead. So where the hull plates are 6 millimeters thick, the overlap is 12 millimeters thick. The keel, which has all the ballast in, swings right up inside the hull, and there's various forms of lifting or swinging rudder on the various boats. Many of them have been fairly heavily modified over the years. Our boat, Baltazar, I like to think she's the best of them. We shall see long term, but we have the original coach roof and cockpit were cut away, I think fairly shortly after she was built, and replaced with an aluminium or aluminum for those Americans. It's not really a pilot house, it's more of a deck saloon and cockpit. And she was extended about a meter, and the rudder configuration was changed at that time. I think originally it was considered that the boats didn't handle well downwind in big swell. And so this particular one has had a dagger board added in front of the rudder, a vertical up and down dagger board, and then swinging rudder. And by and large, all of that stuff works quite well. I've sailed over the years. I've sailed most of the swing keel designs, not center borders, but swing keel. And it's been an evolution. This design was really the first of them, and they have got better over the years. But even this boat at 40 something years old it's a usable, workable design. We can lift the keel up, lift the rudder up, and stick her on the beach.
Cool. Has the Damien been your dream boat? Or
no, I don't think so.
You just happened to come across it?
Yeah, when I was looking for a boat, really we just wanted a solid, reliable boat that we could take anywhere. The Damiens are well considered. I don't think they're perfect, but which boat is? She's designed around being rugged, having large fuel tanks, and being fairly conservative in rig. So no, I wasn't looking for a Damien. I was looking for a rugged, useful boat to go anywhere safely. And my friend Andy had bought this boat from the French couple who built her, and he ran her as a charter boat, doing supporting the Department of Conservation out of New Zealand's work in the subantarctic islands, the New Zealand subantarctics. And so when he had enough of that business, he put her up for sale and contacted me, actually to ask if I might know anybody who wanted to buy the boat, and I said no. And my partner at the time said, well, maybe we'd be interested. And I thought, oh, well, we'll go and have a look. And here we are, some years later.
Nice. And you're still happy with purchasing the boat?
Yeah, we love her.
Yes.
Look, she's great. Like I say, she's relatively simple. She's strong. She's safe. She's fairly easy to run. Yep. If any steel boat can be considered easy to run. Yeah, we have no ideas about changing boats in the near future.
No. And right now you're getting ready to sailing to Polynesia.
Yeah, that's right. We're at about 40 degrees south right now. So when we do leave, we'll head east down the westerlies, in theory. Possibly heading a little south of here to catch the stronger westerlies. We'll see. To the longitude of about the Gambier Islands. So that's more or less the most easterly of the French Polynesian chain. Not so far, in fact, from Pitcairn. And then we'll head north to Gambia and begin our French Polynesian odyssey there. We'll pick up the trades as we head north, and after that, it's all downwind, apparently. Apparently, yeah.
Yeah. It's just going to be you and your wife Julia on the trip.
It is. That's right. Yeah, we may join with some friends in French Polynesia, but we're gonna make the long leg ourselves. We've done some fairly decent legs in the past. This will be our longest together, just the two of us. But we're pretty comfortable with that, and we enjoy that, if you like, isolated time together, time with no interference from the outside world.
Cool. How many days do you reckon it will take?
That's a very good question. I would imagine we're in for a 3-week passage or thereabouts.
Yeah.
I don't remember the miles off the top of my head, but that'll depend on the weather anyway that we get, on the day, as it were.
Yeah. Yeah. And as I said earlier, I saw a picture from your wife Julia about you provisioning. And as anyone provisioning for a long trip, it looked like chaos with food everywhere. but and I guess you're used to provisioning for a much larger crew, because 2 people is quite easy, isn't it, to provision for?
2 people is fair. It's easier to provision for, yeah, and also we've only got to supply the food we enjoy eating. So that simplifies matters. We prefer as whole food a diet as we possibly can, so we're heavy on beans. I believe we've got 20 kilos of chickpeas on board right now, and enough brown rice to sink a small ship. It's easier. It's also less expensive. I once spent 15 years ago. I spent $15,000 in an American supermarket provisioning Pelagic Australis for the season, which was that's a whole bunch of shopping carts and a bunch of carloads full of groceries.
But how do you keep track of all the food you put in all nooks and crannies in the boat?
Yeah, well, what we've done this time is, of all the groceries we bought, which is mainly canned and dried goods, heavy on the dried goods, we use a pressure cooker a lot to rehydrate stuff. We have 6 20-litre barrels which are packed full of grains, mainly grains, seeds, pulses, that sort of thing. And they're fully sealed up, and they will be opened throughout the next 6 months as we need them. And then within that, or in addition to that, we've got probably a similar volume of cans and jars and other formats ready to be opened, ready to go at any time, so we can reach under the couch and bring out a can of tomatoes pretty easily. But there's others in deep storage around the boat. How do we keep track of it? Well, when you've got no more, you've run out.
So it's a total surprise what you're going to get for dinner every
No,
time.
not at all, not at all.
No.
Julia's amazing at this. She did it for Arctic Earth for our season up north, which is obviously of similar length, but more people and a greater variety of diets. And she's just fantastic. She's all over it. She says, she jokes, in fact, that I don't know where to find anything because she's hidden it all, which is about right.
Cool. Yeah, talking about the Arctic Earth, that's your other boat or the other. I'm not sure if it's your boat, but it's a company you're involved
That's
in.
right. Yeah. So Arctic Earth is a Good Hope 56 design, um, designed by Chuck Payne back in the day, and she's owned by a documentary production company out of Camden, Maine, called Compass Light. They've been making documentaries for 35 years, I think. And when they bought the boat, the owner, David Conover, contacted me and asked if I knew anybody who might want to skipper. And to tell the truth, I thought my skippering days were over. I was pretty happy living in the middle of Canada with Julia. And as we got to know David, we realised that it was too good an opportunity to miss, working with Compass Light, who are a great team, working in the Arctic, which I love. A fair bit of Greenland, which is probably my favourite spot in the world if I had to pick one. And so we work as captain and admiral on that boat. And obviously I wear the captain's hat and Julia wears the admiral's hat.
Yeah, that's the way it goes. But you just said you were contacted about the boat Baltazar by the owner to see if you knew anyone, and the same with the skippering boat on Arctic Earth. If you knew anyone, and it ends up being you.
Yeah, funny that, isn't it?
Is that?
You might say I've got a weak spot for metal boats in the high latitudes.
Yeah, that's cool. How did you end up in this business anyhow?
2004 or 5, my then girlfriend, she and I were sailing based out of the UK. We were young, we were doing deliveries, we were racing, we were training people, we were doing this, that and the other. She got a job on Skip Novak's boat, Pelagic Australis. And she eventually got, which was almost brand new at the time, I think in the second or third season. She got me a job on board. We sailed together from, funnily enough, from Camden, Maine again, down to South Georgia and rounded South Georgia with the then skipper Steve Wilkins, who's a fantastic captain and a great friend. And then I just realised down there that I'd found what I was looking for in the sailing world. Having worked enough seasons in the UK, the Caribbean and the Med to know that I didn't enjoy polishing stuff very much. And I met, as I felt at the time, I met real sailors and real adventure people. And so pushing 20 years later, here I am doing much the same thing. These days, I think through the friends and professional network, I'm reasonably well known for doing this sort of stuff, and which is why people contact me with offers like Arctic Earth, which we never intended to take ourselves, but we did, and it worked out very well. We love working with those guys.
Cool. How would you say the high latitude industry, the sailing industry, has changed over the 20 years you've been involved in?
I think it's changed radically. When I was first in the Falkland Islands and Ushuaia, 2004 or 5, I would say the average charter boat size was probably under 50 feet. It was almost exclusively an owner and partner, running pretty bare bones charters, pretty rugged lifestyle. Certainly in the south, it was people like Skip Novak who upped the game, who developed a website and joined IARTO, and eventually built in 2003 Pelagic Australis, which was more or less the first of the bigger boats, at least certainly the custom built boats. And so it's become, like the whole sailing industry, it's become more professional, which is both a good thing in terms of safety and responsibility and all the rest of it. But I can't help feeling that a lot of the adventure's gone out of it. It's become a business.
Yeah.
It used to be purely a passion. Now it's somewhere between a passion and a business.
Yeah. How is it for you? Is it still the passion, or is it both for you too?
Yeah, well, it's obviously a passion, because if I wanted to make money, I'd be running a super yacht by now. But I can't leave it alone. And when we arrived in southern Greenland last year, I've been to Greenland many times, but we arrived and I just had this beautiful epiphany of a realization that I'd come home. So I'm nearly 50. I run a 56-foot boat for a living. I mean, that's no sort of career, but it's a passion. Maybe passion is an excuse for not having a career. I don't know.
No, I would call it a career. Wouldn't you?
Yeah. You're very kind, John.
No. Yes, Arctic Earth. You're going back this the coming winter, aren't you?
So this northern summer, the boat's staying in Maine and working on some other projects. Arctic Earth predominantly supports science and filmmaking projects. Compass Light are a filmmaking company. They've got all the experience and all the background, all the contacts. We've been working with the University of Maine, the Arctic University of Tromsø, and some of the major documentary shooting companies that we would all be aware of. I can't really mention names, but all the glamorous wildlife documentary folks. Let's put it that way. So we're not going back this year because the boat's busy in Maine, looking particularly at water quality down there. As you know, Greenland's melting, and it's affecting the water currents certainly in the North Atlantic. It's affecting water temperatures in Maine, the Bay of Fundy, etc. And so Arctic Earth will be making some studies of that part of the world, looking at the way that it's affecting wildlife, particularly lobster, but many other things as well.
Right.
This northern summer, Julia and I are heading to the Antarctic Peninsula on a quite extreme far south mission, which I can't really talk about at the moment because the primary expeditioner has asked us not to. But you will hear about it after the event. So we'll be down south this southern summer, and then we'll rejoin Arctic Earth in March, April, and take her back up to Greenland as soon as we can for a full season again.
Yeah. Nice. I talked to a friend of ours in crossing of the Labrador Sea. I actually made a podcast with Nick on Skydancer.
Yeah, love Nick.
While he was in the middle of yeah, super couple and super boat, but they had bought Starlinks, so I could make a podcast with them while they were in the middle of the Labrador Sea. So that's also a game changer, isn't
Yeah,
it? The communication
that's
part
certainly changed. I mean, when I got involved with this high latitude business, we just about had gribs, and really everybody would take a grib every 24 hours, and each grib would be for 3 days, and it would be a 12-hourly progression. And if you were lucky, you got a wind strength and direction, and maybe some other data, but not very much. These days, we're used to looking at the weather 6 times a day from 5 different sources, including sea temperature, swell, frequency, height, wavelength, you name it. And I think that's really changed things, you know. In my early days, we regularly experienced 50 knots of wind. And these days, honestly, it's the exception to the rule now when we get involved in a blow of any seriousness like that. And you know, 50 knots is a fairly serious business, and I think we've all seen far more than that at times, but by and large these days we can dodge it.
Yep. That's a good thing, but the adventure part of it disappears a little bit.
Well, it does, and
with all the tech.
Yeah, you know, with Starlink, which Julia and I have elected not to put on our boat this year, but obviously it's in the wings somewhere. Yep. You know, with Starlink, you're hooked into your usual social media channels, looking up the weather, calling your mum. I've always called my mum, actually, to be fair. I spent more money on Iridium phone calls to my mum than anything else in the last 20 years, I reckon.
You're a nice guy.
Oh, I don't know.
I just got my Iridium yesterday, so I haven't tried it yet. Anyway, I'm going to Bear Island.
Oh, nice.
And
yeah,
on an expedition there to clean the plastics. So we're gonna see if we can do live sessions from Bear Island. And it's it's nice, but I'm not gonna turn it on to watch Netflix.
Well, I do quite a bit of work with EOS Expeditions, and really they're the world leaders in high latitude super yacht expeditioning. They've really got it covered.
Yep. And
they've done some extraordinary adventures. But a few years ago, we sailed down to the Arctic, and we had the VSAT provider steer extra bandwidth our way so we could watch some sort of soccer game south of the Antarctic Circle. Kind of to my dismay, although I must admit I enjoyed the game. So, you know, who's to say what's right and wrong?
No. It's changing. That's for sure. You also, talking about business, you also run a business called High Latitudes.
That's right, yeah. So when I finished 5 or possibly 6 years working for Skip Novak, running both of his boats, EOS Expeditions fortuitously had just bought High Latitudes from the founders, Rich Howarth and Luke Milner. And they asked Rich and Luke, EOS asked Rich and Luke who they would recommend to run High Latitudes for them. And they suggested me. Cool. So High Latitudes is really the small boat division, if you like, of EOS Expeditions. We nominally make the split at about 120 feet, but it's a bit vague. You know, it depends who's busy doing what at the time, to a degree.
Yeah.
So at High Latitudes, we do much the same as EOS do. We offer consultancy and support advice to yacht owners and captains wanting to take their boats to the ice at both ends of the world. Sometimes that's quite involved, and sometimes it's just a few emails and phone calls, a little bit of backup, answer a few questions. We help prospective owners find the right boats. We work with yards to modify designs to make them more suitable for the owner's wishes. Really, it's owner driven. We provide experience and expertise where we can, and where we can't, we pass it on to somebody who can. We do quite a bit of permitting work, getting the permits for Antarctica, South Georgia, Svalbard is getting increasingly difficult, but we have a very good track record with all of those. Yeah, I mean, you'll know yourself from the Svalbard side of things.
Yeah.
So we're just there as a resource for people who've got those ambitions, and there are more and more of those people. I think that world is opening up, and so our aim is really to help people achieve their aims safely and enjoyably without too much pressure on themselves.
Yeah, I was involved in high-latitudes when Luke and Richard owned it.
Oh, okay.
And I attended the high-latitude course they had in Leamington. Really enjoyed it.
Yes.
So I helped them with some permits for clients to Jan Mayen and something like that.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. I did one of their courses back in the day. Yeah. I'm in touch with them now and again these days.
Cool. What's a typical customer of high latitudes? How big? What's the?
I would say typically we're between 50 and 80 feet most of the time, 45 feet perhaps. Yep. We have worked with a couple of boats smaller than that, and some a bit larger, but really we're at that. We're at the larger end of what owner-operators drive themselves, and the smaller end of the professional team on board. And the typical owner, usually very experienced, has usually sailed extensively around the blue water parts of the world, and is looking for new horizons. Typically they know what they're talking about, and they want and need specific advice which is unique to those parts of the world.
Yeah, sounds right. It's all stopped on. Yeah, we tried to make this podcast a few weeks ago, and you were in Turkey.
That's right. Yeah. So
was that a high latitude? Was that a high latitude assignment?
It was. Actually, the job came through EOS, but as I mentioned, we're very fluid between the two companies. So that's an American gentleman, and he's been working with a Dutch, New Zealand-based designer, and building a boat in a Turkish yard called Naval Yachts, and they are building a 78 foot in theory. I think in practice it's slightly longer than that, which seems to be the way these days. Motorboat. So she's twin engine. She's the first diesel electric yacht they've built. They're aiming to be the first diesel electric vessel to circle the Americas. So it'll be launched in Turkey. They'll go over to their home probably on the east coast of the States, and then they're hoping in 1 year to get up around through the Northwest Passage, back down through the Pacific, around or through southern Chile, Antarctica, and back up to the east coast of the United States in 1 year. The boat's very advanced. It's very modern. Aluminum hull, like I say, twin engine, diesel electric, enormous stateroom, saloon with big windows, and then an open fly bridge upstairs. She's a very exciting boat. I can't wait to have a drive in her.
What's your role in it, in the project?
Yeah, so really, the design is complete, more or less. The hull is built. They're putting interior and systems in at the moment, painting the hull, etc. My role really was to offer the owner some advice relevant to the areas he's planning to take the boat. So we're looking at tender options. We're looking at lines and fenders. It's the small things that make a boat work in the cold, which most people don't have a great deal of experience of. Most people have sailed around in the warmer latitudes, and so I was just there to offer a few pointers and just to pick up on stuff, some experiential stuff. We found some minor faults. We discovered the anchor windlass was too low, and it wouldn't have been able to take mooring line loads on the capstan. It's a minor mistake. There's nothing wrong. It's the yard who've I wouldn't say made that mistake, but they've not foreseen that eventuality. And I happened to spot that along with some other stuff. So really, it's about readying the boat for a big adventure. I'm certainly not a naval architect. I couldn't design a boat, but I can help. I can help with the stuff you bolt onto it.
Yeah. Cool. Are you going to join for some parts of the expedition?
I don't know yet. I don't know, but at high latitudes,
No.
if I'm not involved, then we'll find somebody else, a colleague who's got similar experience, and if that's what the owner wants to do, we'll put them on board and they can help out. But the one thing although we do supply skippers and captains, by and large, our staff are there as in a supporting role to allow the owners to run their own boats. We're not there to take over. We're there to back the captains up, and offer them a sounding board. Often, a second pair of eyes, a second view of things in an environment they're not very familiar with. And generally speaking, it works really well. Yep. I remain friends with most of the captains I've worked with.
You talked about, you mentioned the dinghies, and I'm not sure if it's Luke or Richard who mentioned it, but they said that yachts should be built around the dinghies, because the dinghy is where you get the adventure from, not the sailing, obviously, but where you get to explore.
I think that's exactly right. And many, possibly most boats under 70 or 80 feet long, I guess, 18 meters, 19, 20 meters. They're not designed with a place for the tender. And we've all seen it, we've all done it, strap tenders to the bow, strap them on the stern, had them hanging from davits swinging around. I think, if designing a high latitude boat, there's a few things that need to be on the deck. There need to be anchoring gear, there needs to be mooring bollards, there needs to be some sort of pilot house dodger arrangement, there needs to be a cockpit with some winches probably, and there needs to be a place to put the tender. And it's that tender which gets forgotten about. And then the larger boats we work with, 90 to 200 feet, 300 feet, they typically have enormous tenders which are not very handy for landing on the beach. And so often we recommend that they purchase a smaller rib or just a little inflatable for their trip, so they can land on the beach and haul them up, because no one, in the south, you don't want your tender being chewed up by a leopard seal, and in the north you don't want a walrus getting into it or attempting to mate with it. So no. Small tenders are really handy.
Yeah. Any advice to people in a regular boat, say 40 to 50 feet, who wants to go cruising in the high latitudes?
I think I would say be very, very prepared. Even with Starlink, which is a game changer, but that aside, most small boats can't support the power consumption of Starlink anyway. be prepared. Take your spares. Take all your manuals. Find a way, whichever it is, to keep the boat warm and dry inside, because it's not just cold; it's damp that makes boats uncomfortable. So uninsulated boats get very sweaty very quickly. Everyone's got their favourite methods of warming the boat. Personally, I like the diesel drip pot heaters from the likes of Reflex, but plenty of other ways of doing it. But take all that stuff seriously before you get going. And honestly, if you haven't been to the ice before, take someone with you who's been to the ice before, because it doesn't behave in a predictable fashion. And
it doesn't behave at all.
It doesn't behave at all, indeed. Yeah. I always liken it to random uncharted rocks without AIS on them that float about and move.
Yeah. What? You said it before. Your favorite high latitude cruising ground is Greenland.
Well, I don't know.
Isn't it? You don't know.
It's hard, I think, to choose favourites because every experience is new and different.
Yep.
If I had to choose one, if you ask me now, which would be the one place in the northern hemisphere you'd want to sail to again, I would say Greenland. But I've had amazing experiences in Svalbard, in Norway, Iceland. The coast of Baffin is exceptional. It's extraordinary.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I suppose if I had to choose one, I would say Greenland. But I met an old boy in the Falkland Islands years ago, and we were talking about South Georgia, which is only 800 miles from there. And he said to me, he said, Magnus, if I had 10 days to live, I'd spend 9 of them sailing to South Georgia. And that speaks volumes to me.
Yeah, because not everybody, but most people talk about Antarctica as the big dream when they go south.
They do, yeah, and it's the seventh continent. It's the cruise ships are always full for their trips to the Antarctic Peninsula. I'm lucky enough to have been many times. I think the place is fantastic. It's amazing. It blows my mind every time I go. I would probably choose to take my own boat to South Georgia.
Yep.
I've been many times, but not as much as the Antarctic Peninsula. But in a smaller boat, it's hard yards. It's a tough environment. Coming back upwind in the Southern Ocean westerlies to the Falkland Islands is very, very tough at times. But South Georgia is amazing. It's a wonderland, particularly for the wildlife.
Yeah, I can imagine. And how about Patagonia? Everyone says it looks like Norway in the wintertime.
Yeah,
but
that's a good way to look at it.
So why go there? I'm in Norway.
Yeah. I wouldn't sell Patagonia to you. Living as you do in Norway. But I was there this year with a 60-meter sailboat, and again, it's an extraordinary environment. It's a temperate rainforest, so it's a temperate rainforest with glaciers pouring out of the mountains. I believe there's an unusual climatic anomaly there, which means that the temperature differential as you go up in altitude is particularly steep there. It gets colder quicker as you go up. So there's the Patagonian ice cap, or the Darwin ice cap, which pours down into these fjords, but there's beautiful green trees all over the place. I mean, it's wonderful.
Fantastic. Yeah, I think you sold it anyhow. um, any any destinations or passages that you haven't done that you really want to do?
Yeah, of course. So many.
Good.
Japan, Kamchatka, more time in Alaska.
Mm.
Um, I'd love to spend more time in Norway. Um, the Possibly the Russian North Coast, or at least parts of it. I was supposed to take a trip across the Northeast Passage some years ago, but it didn't come together in the end. Yeah, I mean, there's other parts of the world which I don't know at all, like Africa, for instance. I sailed to Senegal once when I was a young guy and totally fell in love with it there. My father says, Mag, whenever you phone me up, you always say, "Oh, this place is incredible, Dad." He says it doesn't matter where you are, you always say the same thing. The world's a wonderful place, and taking a snail shell of a sailboat with you to explore it is a great way to go.
Yeah, sounds like the perfect ending for this podcast. Um, Anything you'd like to say that I haven't asked about, or
No,
to finish it up?
not particularly, John. It's been lovely talking to you. I think we've known about each other for many years and never managed to contact each other. So hats off to you for giving me the opportunity to talk to you. It's been great.
No, thanks for taking the time in a busy schedule.
That's all right. We're only loading on a ton of provisions and rewiring the boat at the same time.
You got an hour off now.
I have, yeah. Back to it now.
Thanks, Magnus. And hopefully we'll talk again, because you have other adventures in front of you. So it should be interesting to talk about.
Yep, whenever you like. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks.
Cool. Cheers.
Hi, guys. Thanks for listening to this podcast. I hope you found it interesting. If you want to know more about high-latitude sailing, I can highly recommend, without blushing, the book I wrote together with Bob Shepton, High-Latitude Sailing, Self-Sufficient Sailing Techniques for Cold Waters and Winter Seasons. You'll find it on Amazon, on explorenorth.no. You can follow the link to buy a hard copy. And there's also a lot of other books there that you might find interesting. Other than that, keep on sailing, guys.